In question 6b, we're asked to factor this trinomial. Now, we have to be careful with the leading coefficient being 2, but we always have to remember that when we factor, we're always going to factor greatest common factor first. So I've got a common 2 here, I got a common 2 here, and a common 2 here. There is a greatest common factor which I have to make sure I factor out. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So I end up with 2. So I'm left with x squared plus 3x minus 10. Once I do that, I can look at the inside bracket and see if I can factor further. In this case, there are two numbers that multiply to negative 10 and add to positive 3. So when I do this, I have to make sure I keep that 2, and then I can factor. So 5 times negative 2 will give me the negative 10. 5 plus negative 2 is going to give me the positive 3. So there's my fully factored form. And I should always try to factor greatest common factor out first. Okay, so make sure that we factor that first. Taking a look at C in this case, we should try to factor greatest common factor first. But when we take a look at C, we can see that there is no common factor here. So we have to factor this using the leading coefficient 3. That means that this is the harder ones where we have to get the split of the middle based on the product of 3x squared times 2. So if I multiply along that diagonal, I get 6x squared. Okay, so this diagonal, some of you may have seen this as first times last. Some of you guys just maybe guess and check this, and that's okay as well, but you have to have some concise way of doing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that 6, and I'm going to factor the middle. So I need two numbers that multiply to 6. That's my product. My adding is this 5. It needs to add to the plus 5. So two numbers that multiply to 6 and add to 5 are going to be 2 and 3. So the 2x plus 3x adds up to the 5x. It has to match. Okay? And this have to match to that. They have to add together to that area. But we also need a 2 times 3 because the diagonal this way has to equal the diagonal this way. So that's why we use that 6. So at this point, we have the correct area, so I just need to factor. So I'm going to find the greatest common factor going in the vertical direction here. So the greatest common factor here is going to be 3x. The greatest common factor here is going to be 2, so it's going to be plus 2. My greatest common factor going in this direction is going to be just the x, so I end up with x, and I can see that 3x times x is 3x squared. The 2 here times the x here gives me the 2x inside the area there. Okay, so this all works. Just doing the last part here, the greatest common factor is 1, and I can see that, 1 times 3x plus 2 will give me this 3x plus 2 in the area there. So there it is. I've now found the side lengths. Finding the side lengths means I found factors. So it's 3x plus 2 times x plus 1. If I expand that out, I'll end up back to 3x squared plus 5x plus 2.